Hello, my name is Jason Summers, and this is my second summit and my first time presenting. I work for Coupa Software. Coupa is a leading cloud procurement platform for business spend management. I'm also one of the executive sponsors of Coupa's LGBTQ business resource group, Illuminate. For the next 20 minutes, I have a big idea to share with you, my fellow BRG leaders. So let's get started. By the end of this presentation, my goal is to enable you to help empirically measure social responsibility of your company in the LGBTQ community and improve community engagement. We're going to do this by covering three topics: a basic understanding of procurement, helping create or influence a supplier inclusion program, and linking your BRG's relationship with the LGBTQ community via procurement and business leaders. So what is our compass today? First, let's look at HR. Many BRG leaders in the United States will look at their influence with HR with a level of success. Congratulations. Companies like yours may have LGBTQ benefits to help employees feel more included and help attract top talent, because we know it's both the right thing to do and it's the best way to attract bright minds. But let's contrast this with procurement. Your company may have a basic supplier diversity program or a diversity program in general, but all too often, the procurement program has not done enough or even started actively identifying LGBTQ suppliers. This means collectively, all of our companies are spending trillions of dollars, but likely missing out on an opportunity to engage the LGBTQ community. I see this as an opportunity for all of us as BRG leaders and our organizations to bring about change. Change which can radically affect, as you can see, the laws and prejudices that many of us may still face globally in our communities. So, what do we need to do to make this journey successful? You need an understanding of how procurement works with suppliers, and how can we find LGBTQ-owned businesses in our community? We're going to review procurement and business spend management next. No, the goal here is to familiarize yourself with procurement in order to have meaningful conversations. Let's see who we should talk to on the next slide. First, we have to know our audience. Who are the types of people involved in buying decisions? Are these people that need to start having conversations with? I've listed the titles of people most likely engaged in your company's buying decision, from leadership levels like Chief Procurement Officer and Chief Financial Officer to different teams that are involved in buying decisions each and every day. Now that you know who to seek out, let's review functions and process. Procurement is here mainly to ensure goods and services are acquired at the optimum value for your company and not just at the cheapest price. You may be surprised to know your company's assets, your company assesses supplier risk. And accounts payable is here to ensure that your suppliers get paid in a timely manner. But more holistically, procurement manages supplier relationships because for the company, it's critical for the business. So let's do a deeper dive into how businesses spend their money. Categorization of spending by large corporations is pretty complex. As a review, purchasing by definition is the act of buying something, a good or service, from another company, known as a supplier. What you need to know is spending can be direct, meaning the good or service that is directly related to the company is trying to deliver. For example, a shoe company buying rubber for a tennis shoe is direct spending. Indirect spending is for items which support the company. For example, a company like Amazon may need boxes and tapes in order to facilitate delivery of goods. Note, it may be easier to start with indirect spending at your company as it relates to our discussion. Companies which spend a large percentage of their budget with a single supplier, normally called Tier 1, may have sophisticated relationships with your company with unique contracts that govern things like minimum spend, discounting tiers, special terms, conditions. Large companies have buyers, people in procurement, whose specific job is obtaining sourcing, negotiating, awarding, and management of these suppliers. For small and infrequent purchases, procurement normally guides or controls which suppliers can be used to buy goods. Typically, these are categorized as Tier 2 or Tier 3. Regardless of tier, suppliers are usually pre-approved, so procurement has a process to add new suppliers. Your company may have a supplier code of conduct which specifies policies around inclusion. Let's explore a couple of the procurement processes you should know more about related to spending and supplier management. We just reviewed who can be suppliers and how companies categorize suppliers. Managing suppliers is one of the processes included in procurement's purpose of procure to pay or source to pay functions. Supplier management is the discipline that encompasses the alignment of organizations, processes, and systems for strategic sourcing, contract management, supplier management, and spend analysis. In addition to risk management, supplier management is continuously improving its global supply chain for best value performance in the support of strategic objectives of the business. Approval to spending money is the act of purchasing. In almost all cases, approvals are required to issue a purchase order, also called a PO for short, or sometimes a requisition. Who's responsible for approving can vary, but typically it includes the budget owners, the requester's manager, potentially legal, executives, and even a social responsibility team. Hint, hint. Next, let's connect procurement to the business and your group. Now that you know more about procurement roles and procurement functions, I'd like to remind you there are allies around your company that can work with you to help procurement understand the importance of LGBTQ suppliers. These allies are in business leaders around the company. These business groups are the ones that actually have the spend that procurement is helping manage. For example, the CIO often has one of the biggest budgets with IT, spending being directed to suppliers around the world. The same is true for marketing, sales, HR, and many other business groups. So don't forget that you can start having conversations in your own department about what suppliers you're using and how you spend money in order to help drive change in your procurement department. Basically, change can start in your home department and with your BRG budget. Does your company have a diversity or inclusion program? Does that program even include suppliers? Before engaging with procurement and/or during your next conversation with D&I leaders, ask about that program, and if one exists, understand who is administering it and how. If you don't have a program, see the handout notes for resources to help justify why your company needs a supplier inclusion program. Quick side note on diversity and inclusion. In the United States, it's common for us to use the term diversity. However, globally, diversity really means to separate, not to bring us together. So for the purpose of this presentation, I specifically use the word inclusion to mean D&I. Supplier inclusion programs could be an entire presentation itself, but it's important to have one. In the handout, I've included a link to a resource guide to get you started and with creating one if you don't have one. Regardless of your procurement systems technology, it can be configured to improve and support selecting inclusive suppliers, think LGBTQ suppliers, and enforce controls and reviews around approvals. Explore this topic with your procurement team. For example, changing your sourcing templates with LGBTQ supplier recommendations. It's very hard to change without measuring results. So later in my presentation, I have information around targets you could use as goals for your program. Now let's get specific around finding suppliers in our LGBTQ community. The best resource for our community is the National Gay Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. Since our families work and play in our communities, let's start locally. The NLGCC website has a list of local chambers of commerce who would be an ideal contact point for your BRG group. The website also has international chambers of commerce. So if you support a global team, you may be surprised to find out that there are LGBTQ suppliers in the office locations of your company. Most chambers of commerce offer certification to LGBTQ-owned businesses. Supporting an LGBTQ-owned business to join a chamber of commerce and get certified can certainly improve that business, your company's social equity, and make it easier for your procurement team to validate these businesses. Let's put this all together by influencing procurement to increase the economic and social impact our companies have in our communities. Are you ready? What does successful partnership look like? As you can see from the table I found on the internet, companies spend with LGBT businesses is pretty small. When you have a conversation with procurement, they may say, we have a D&I and/or supplier inclusion program and everything is running fine. Well, there's probably room for improvement. In the near term, my conversation with a friend and colleague said, we should at least aim for 1%. And that's doing really well, by the way. Are you with me? According to research from the Hackett Group, 76% of all diverse suppliers meet buyer expectations, and another 23% exceed them. So challenge your company if they think they have to sacrifice quality or other business priorities to allocate spend to LGBTQ-owned businesses. Keep asking until you know how much your spend is with the LGBTQ community. And be proud to understand what the impact is, your social impact is in our community. So what does partnership with our community look like? At a high level, concepts for partnerships could include knowing goods and services your company is seeking, making it easy for your procurement team to know local LGBTQ businesses, working with LGBTQ business owners to make it easy for them to do business with your company. So your BRG can do a lot to bridge these gaps. Reach out to the local director of your Chamber of Commerce to understand what the LGBTQ business landscape is and their needs. If there isn't one, maybe ask at your local LGBTQ center and see if they have information about business owners or interested in forming an LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce. Let's get these LGBTQ businesses certified, whether it's volunteer time from your BRG or maybe your company's sponsorship to help get them certified. We can do this. I know this presentation has been all business, but don't forget, we can have some fun too. Why not invite LGBTQ owned businesses to your next event, external event? And or maybe they want to sponsor an event in your community. So let's put this all together with key takeaways for you and your BRG. Here's a picture of success. Having all out and equal BRGs partnering with procurement and business owners to improve our global LGBTQ community. Let's put ourselves in the middle of changing our global communities for the good. So, call to action. Review these materials and assess your company's supplier inclusion program. Have a conversation with your procurement leadership about partnership and alignment to your company's goals. Create activities and programs for your BRG to engage LGBTQ-owned businesses in the community. And of course, recognize and celebrate success. Finally, thank you. Let's stay connected. Join me on LinkedIn as the ERG Leaders Group. If your company uses Coupa for procurement, your Coupa administrator can reach out to their customer value manager or feel free to contact me for more information. Coupa's supplier portal is free for all and very easy to use, and it's at supplier.coupa.com. Finally, don't forget about the resources and have a great summit.